Hello, everyone. I'm Elena. I'm going to be your Cognos Analytics System Administrator. The purpose of tonight's session is to help you get started with using the application. All right, so here is the agenda, and I need to tell you that today I'm going to cover a lot, and you will need to watch the recording more than once. Even if you were able to attend the session, you will need to watch this more than once. All right. So I'm gonna show you how to access the environment that you're gonna use. I'll help you how to get started. We're gonna talk about interface navigation, data set versus data module, data preparation, such as filters and more, data exploration, and a lot of exciting stuff, such as calculations, decision trees. You'll see. Now, what is Cognos Analytics? Well, this is self-service and has an intuitive web-based interface. Basically, you upload the data, do not write any R or Python code, but without any code, you can extract useful insights about the data in a natural language, right? So it supports visual data exploration. You just talk to fields in canvas and get insights about the data. Then, based on what visualization you're looking at right now, I'm going to recommend you some related visualizations. You may build your own dashboards and stories. We're going to talk about stories in the next session, right? So you may also review the data being visualized, and you may do reporting, but reporting not covered in this course. Okay. So now I already set up your account. So very important. You're going to be using a browser to access your account. Do not use browser check button. Remember that you cannot undo the deletion. Oh, it's difficult to hear. I'm trying my best to speak loud as I can. So I can try switching another mic, but I don't know if it's gonna help or not. Okay, so let me try something. Is it better or worse? Is this better? Is this better right now or worse? Better. Okay, I'm trying. Okay, I'm gonna try. Okay, thank you. Well, I did my best to adjust, and I'm not sure how to fix it. All right. So, now remember, when you delete something, you cannot undelete. That's it. There is no recycle bin. You cannot undo the deletion. Okay. When you delete the data, the visualizations are permanently invalid. That's it. Okay. So even if you try to re-upload the data, that's it. You cannot undo, right? You cannot copy paste directly from PC. You need to use the clipboard tool. Always save the work, and you need to start working on the assignment early. Okay, how is the sound? Better now? See, that's the thing. It has to do with the Zoom, something with the Zoom, not with my PC. It's happening only in Zoom, and sometimes. Okay. Now, this is a URL that you're gonna use to log in. Okay. So what you do is you just paste this in a browser here, right? This is a single sign-on. If you're not logged in to Leo, or if you're not logged into your student email, sometimes it might ask you to, sometimes it might ask you for a password, but for some unknown reason, it asks you to verify the identity. Well, it's not going to ask you to do that because you are a student, but for the faculty, sometimes it asks to do that. So I have to put the number. That usually does not happen for the student. Okay, let's verify. Now it should work. All right. So here it is. I'm now in the VDI. Can you guys hear me? Hopefully you can hear me. I'm in VDI. So here is Cognos icon. What you're gonna do here is click on this, right? You're gonna click on it. So this is Cognos. It's gonna start the screen, login screen, Cognos login screen, right? Okay, I will put URL in the chat box, but also you will have the slides, and it's also gonna be in instructions. Okay. Okay. So here it is, right? Now, let's look here. So that's a URL, right? Here, this is what's gonna happen. Username is your university username. Okay. Okay. So your username is your university username. What is this? You have a student email, and the username precedes it. The student email is like, for example, msmith@student.umgc.edu. msmith is your username, right? Password is welcome. So, capitalize the first letter, replace letter E with number 3, which is above. On the keyboard, number 3 is above letter E, right? An exclamation point. So that's password. Everybody password is the same, okay? But for the purpose of today's demo, I'm using a special demo account. I do not use my account, my admin account for the demo. I use a special account called demo, okay? But for you, you're gonna be logging into your account. I'm logging into the demo account for today, okay? All right. So, all right. So this is the landing page of Cognos, right? So we are here right now. So what you see is this. Over here, you're gonna see this little menu bar. Because see here, you are logged into VGA. This is not your PC, right? So this is the preferences. This is a clipboard. So to copy text, you need to copy it to the clipboard first. Then you copy it from the clipboard to wherever you need to, right? So you cannot copy paste between your PC and VGA directly. You have to use this clipboard tool, okay? So this is like considered remote PC, all right? So you're logging into remote PC. You will not be able to upload files, but all the data that you're gonna use is uploaded for you, and I will show you, okay? So that's that. Now, so what do you see in here? So this is the landing page, right? Home. It's also called the home page. You have several folders here. My content, those are the files that are available for you. This is only your files. For example, I have this file that I'm going to be working with today, right? That I'm going to show you the demo. This is my content. Only I can see it. Nobody else can see it. This is team content, right? So when you log in, right, when you access your account, make sure that you can see these folders for team content. If you don't, then submit a ticket, Salesforce ticket is very easy to fix, okay? But those are what you see here: calendars, get started, samples. Those folders are pre-installed. They were installed together with Cognos. This folder is a folder that I set up for you, and I called it data for assignments. Okay, so what you do here, this is how I organize. If you click in here, I have a separate subfolder for each assignment. Like for example, you have your first assignment, right? It's due next week, but I recommend you do it as soon as you can. So here, this is the date for your first assignment, getting started, right? So what you gonna do is this. You're gonna click here. This is called contact menu, right? So what you'll do, you're gonna click on copy or move, and you need to save a copy of this file to your area. You see this? Right now, you're located in a team folder, right? This shows you where you are now. But you have to save a copy where to my content, right? And you're gonna say copy, all right? You will not be able to use move to. If you click on move to, you will receive an error because you have a read-only permission for the content, right? So now you're gonna do copy to. That's it, and then you're gonna go back to your my content and you see the file, right? Okay. So more here. You have this assignment, but your assignment too is not visible until you submit the getting started assignment. You must submit getting started assignment to gain access to assignment 2. For assignment 2, this is a national housing data, right? This one, assignment 4 and 3, you're gonna use the same data set and you're gonna choose one of these, okay? So you have 6 choices for assignment 3, and you're gonna stay with the same data for assignment 4, okay? So you know where the data is. And if you like to follow along what I'm doing, this is today's data. You have access to today's data. Okay, the data that I'll use today, you have access. What is this? Here, you will have everything that you recently opened. The files that you recently opened. Right now, it's empty, right? And here, also, you're going to have a tile for each file that you had recently opened, right? You're going to have a tile. And I'll show you when you start opening, right? So here, if you're not sure what the file name, you can search. Like, for example, I can search something like house, and it's going to find that I have access to national housing data, right? So this is just to search stuff. You could also create folders if you want, right? Just by clicking new, that will create folder. Then, if you have a lot of files in here, you can filter them. Like, for example, you want to see just the folders, or you want to see just the data, etc. Okay? So that's about the filters. You can do the sortings, etc. Right? So that's an interface. Now, I showed you where to access the data for your assignment, right? The subfolders. Okay. Now, this is the data that we're gonna use for tonight's demo. The data is about insurance claims records. It has customer information, including state, gender, and income, etc. It has information on a car that the person is driving. It has information on a policy, insurance policy. And the goal is to estimate the total claim amount. Now, take a look at this. Do you see some columns have missing values? Right now, they look like blank, right? So part of the data processing step will be to handle those missing values. We're going to talk about it, but take a look. Note that some values are missing, right? All right. So, data set versus data module. For your first assignment, you're working straight with the data set. You're going to go straight to visualizations. Data set is just the CSV or Excel file that was uploaded. You cannot customize the data directly. You cannot preview data directly. And it was just created just when I uploaded the file, right? Data module is something that you create from data set. You may customize data by adding filters. You may add calculation, navigation hierarchies. It can be used as a source of another data module if you needed to. You may preview data directly. You may combine multiple data modules if you need to, but not going to do it in this course. But in general, you know that. Well, both datasets and data modules can be used for explorations and dashboards. But why use data module? Because if I want to define a filter or a calculation that I want to be available everywhere where I use this data, I want to define it where? In a data module, right? Because if I defined it in a visualization file itself, it will not be available elsewhere, right? So we're going to create the data module. This is what we're going to do next, right? So how do you create the data module? This is the data claims and weather that I mentioned. You're going to click here. This will open the context options menu, right? So what you're going to do, you're going to create data module, right? So far, so good. By default, it's going to call new data module. What you see here is a list of columns. Each column has a different icon. The icon represents the data type, right? The columns have different data types. Some of them are numbers, right? Some of them are not, right? Like, for example, this is the marital status. The values are married and single and etc., right? That's not a number. While monthly premium, it's a number, right? So different data types, and the icon, different icon indicates the data type. So here is the data preview. I just click here and it just shows me a nice grid with the data, right? So here those are the column names, and I can just right click on the header and I can see the column properties. Alternatively, I can right click next to the column name, right? Open the same menu. When I click on the properties, what do I see? Label, right? This is how the column is labeled, column name. Expression. In this case, it shows how the column in data module is being read from the source file, right? The source file is an Excel file that we use. So in this case, monthly premium, it's read straight from Excel, right? Then what is this? Usage is a measure, right? And here it shows how this field is being summarized. For example, if I was going to look at monthly premium per state, at the moment, it's just going to do the total. It will add up all premiums in the state. Not what I want, right? So you want to change this to average. If I was going to summarize the monthly premium, right, by marital status perhaps, I don't want to take the sum. I want to do the average. Actually, you can change that, right? And then, what else in here? This is comments. This is what if you want to put something about the field. Screen tip is the text that's going to be displayed when you put your mouse over the field, right? And you've got some advanced settings, okay? So don't worry about that. Oh, here, if it says false no values, then somewhere your column might have missing data. If it says if this is checked, that somewhere column might have missing data. Null stands for missing, right? So if you look at it, remember I mentioned that there are missing values. Missing values are represented as null. You see this null, 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 right? So what else you can do? Notice this. Why this column is grayed out? Because this column is a hidden column. In other words, the column is not available to the user. When you create visualizations from this data module, this column is not available, but it's here, right? It can be used here when you define calculations, filters, etc. So, but if I want this to be visible, you can click here, and there's an option show to users. Then, alternatively, hide from users. So you can show and hide the column. So the difference is deleting the column will be gone, right? For hiding the column, you still can use it as part of the calculations here, but the end user will not see that column for visualizations, but it can be used as calculations. Okay, that's what it's for. Now, here those are undo redo. I know I told you that deletions cannot be undone. That's true. But this is just to undo redo the latest changes. Okay. To save, right? You click on save. You want to go to my content, and I'm gonna save it as claims and weather data module. Okay. So I saved it. Now, important here, if you see an asterisk next to the file name, it means that you have not saved the latest change. If you don't see an asterisk, it means that you saved the latest change. Okay? So now, so far we're good. So this is just the data module interface that I just went over. Okay? So this is just shows you about the properties, whether the column is visible, and how you are summarizing the data, right? Whether you do the count distinct, right? Or if you do the average, etc. Data preparation. What is data preparation? Sometimes you need to do something to the data before you can do analysis. For example, you can add some filters, right? You can hide certain columns from user's view. You may change the properties, like I just did, right? The aggregation, it specifies how you summarize, right? You can handle the missing data. For example, you have a lot of rows where effective to data is missing, and those rows are also missing a lot of other data. So I can say I want to filter all rows where effective to data is missing. You can also impute the missing values. For example, you can set to the column average. You can hide the column from the view if it missing most of the values, or you may set predefined values. For categorical columns, if the value is missing, you can treat it. You can perhaps say if it's missing, then you can set it to value other. You can use the predefined values, right? But you can use a predefined value. Like for example, if it's missing, you can treat it as other, right? And I created a set of videos. The playlist is in the classroom. There is a video on how to handle the missing value for categorical column. Okay, so in general, you're gonna look for the outliers, which is unusually large, unusually small values. You can add calculations. You can add data groups and navigation plus. All right. So I showed you how to hide the column, right? Now we're gonna talk about the filters. What a filter? A filter specifies the condition that the row must meet to stay, right? So to define a filter, you need to build the expression. Filter is an expression. You may define the filter at the table level, right? So it involves expression, involves multiple columns, or it can be defined on a specific column values. You may define more than one filter, but there are two types of filters. Remember, two types. Embedded filter, it's defined and it's applied immediately, right away. Then there is a selectable filter. You define it, but you use it as needed in visualizations, okay? So embedded is applied automatically. Selectable is applied when you specify. Okay, we're gonna do an example of each. Example, embedded filter, you want to exclude the rows that don't have effective to date, right? So what you need to do is you're gonna go here, you're gonna click here, right click, and you're gonna select here, this one, manage filters. Manage filters, then you want to do, instead of select column, you want to select this, wire expression editor. You want to select an expression editor. And I'm going to click on add filter. What this does, take a look at it. This is an expression builder. Here, you have a list of columns, right? List of columns in the data. Here is a list of available operators, right? So here, what you can do is you can drag and drop this column. So we want effective due date, and what operator do we want? It's not missing, right? We want to keep the row if effective due date is not missing. There we go, right? So now what we can do, we need to save it. You want to save the filter with descriptive due date, right? We have to be descriptive name, sorry. So I'm gonna say has effective due date, right? That's a filter name. So we must have effective due date, or effective due date is not missing. That's a filter, right? So now you have to save it. Do not click X. You're not gonna save it. You have to click on OK. The value is not missing. So let's preview right now. Do you see? It took care of the rows where effective due date was missing, right? So now I don't have any rows with missing effective due date. So that was what this is, an embedded filter supplied right away. There is also what I mentioned is a selectable filter. The selectable filter is not applied right away, right? It's applied whenever you choose it. So this time I'm going to copy this expression. So what we're going to look at, perhaps that sometimes I want to do visualization for personal policy type for a small vehicle. I want to do it a lot, right? But I don't want to define my filter each time I do visualization. I want to define something and I want to reuse it. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this, right? I copied this expression, this whole thing. Now what I'll do, I'm going to go back here and I'm going to add a filter. So I'm just going to go here and I'm going to do this here. Right now, I select this filter, right? Up here. I'm going to copy the expression, but wait a minute. I cannot copy. I have to click here. I have to click clipboard. I'm going to paste it to the clipboard and I'm going to paste it here. Now, there is a little error in here, right? The quote. See this? The quote. But I'll show you something. So see this is an expression, right? Policy type contains the word personal and vehicle size contains the word small, okay? So here, if you do validate, right now I'm gonna see an error. It's because of this quote. This is a Microsoft Word quote, right? It does not like that. So I'm gonna validate again, it passed. What you could also do here, this is called a prettify, so it's just for nice readability, right? So now what I need to do here, I need to name my filter, but I better use descriptive name. So let's say personal policy for small vehicles, right? You have to make sure that you name this filter with descriptive name, and I'll show you why, okay? So now you're gonna click OK, but the filter is not applied immediately. So you see it here, right? It's gonna appear in a list of columns, but if you look at the policy type, right, it's not filtered. Why? Well, because you defined the selectable filter, right? It's going to be applied whenever you need to use it, right? Whenever you have to use it, you apply. You have to specify explicitly for the visualization, right? And I'll show you. But at the moment, it's not applied. See, I see corporate, right? I see not just personal, I also see corporate, right? So next thing, so that's a filter. There are two types of filters. Remember that. Embedded and selectable. Remember when you use each. Now, another thing is that I told you that when you have missing values, you will remove rows, right? With missing values. The problem is sometimes you might end up losing valuable data. So what you could do is you could change the expression. You can set the value to the average, right? This is what we're gonna do here. We're gonna set the income value to the column average if the value is missing. So what we need to do here, we need to find income. It's here. So those are the properties. Remember, I showed you expression. So right now, it's reading, oops, that's a location code, wrong column. I need to be looking at the income. This one, here. Okay, so we're gonna edit the expression. What it's doing right now, it's taking income straight, right? But we want to use the if statement. If you want to, you can type, or you can also find it's in here. It's in a construct. Jesus, if and else, you can drag and drop. If and else. If condition, what's the condition? Income is missing, right? The condition is this income is missing. And scissors, if you type, it's gonna give you the choices. Is missing. Then when you do something, otherwise you keep as is, right? If it's not missing, you're gonna keep it as is. Okay? If it's missing, then what we're gonna do is this. You're gonna take the average, right? So you have it in the summaries. The summaries has a function called average, and you're gonna put the column name, which is income, right? So now we're gonna do is we're gonna validate it's correct, and then I would like to prettify. See, it's nice and indented. And I'm not changing the column name, I keep it as is, but the only thing that I'm doing here, if it's missing, then I'm gonna just set it to column average. Otherwise, I'm gonna keep it as is. Okay, I'm gonna click OK. There we go. Now what I need to do is, remember, what does this asterisk mean? It means that I have not done what? Have not saved my latest change. So I have to click on this floppy disk to save the latest changes, right? Because if I don't do that, my work will be gone, right? So that was about filling the missing income values with an average. Next thing, oops. Now we're gonna look at the data exploration from the data module, okay? So here's my data module, I saved it, and I close it. To close it, I just click here. Data exploration workbook, it has a set of visualization. It's not what you're going to use for presentation, but you use it to gain the insights from your data. So take a look at the scissors. Now, this data module, the tile appears in my recents because I just had it open, right? It's also going to be in recents here, and it's also going to be in my content here. Now, to create the data exploration, what you'll do is you click here, and then from the actions menu, you need to select create exploration. Okay? create exploration. What this will do is this. First of all, on the left panel, what you see is the columns, right? This is similar to data module. Every column has a different icon, and the icon corresponds to data type, our data type, right? What is this? This is a filter that we just created. And why did I tell you to use descriptive name? Because if I click here, if I go to properties, there is no way to tell what this is without going back to data module. No way to tell what this is. But if I use the descriptive name, I can see what this is. Okay? So this looks like this, right? This is a filter, selectable filter. And here, those are just the list of the columns in your data. If you created calculation, which we're gonna do later, they will also appear here, right? What is here? Well, as you are loading your data, as I was loading the data, rather, Cognos was doing some analysis to see the relationship among the columns. And what it decided in here, the list of columns that I might decide to use as a target. Target, in other words, is a column that I want to predict, right? So probably, more likely, in this data set, I would be predicting the total claim amount, right? So it's here, it's the first choice. What I see here, every column is represented as a little pin, little dot, right? And the line, shows the relationship strength in the columns. So, for example, here, this is a target, right? This is the total claim amount. And that's a policy, right? So total claim amount has an arch with coverage. If I hover, I can see the strength is 26%, relationship strength. What I could do here, see this, when I click on this column, I see it gives me the set of visualizations that I might be looking at. But do you see the problem right away? Total claim amount. It thinks that I want to take the all totals, all my data. This is not good. So what you need to do is you need to change the properties. Remember, you go to properties and you want to do the average. But the way I'm doing it right now, I've changed it in this exploration workbook. If I create another exploration workbook, I have to change it again. If I create another workbook, I have to change it again. Right? What should I have done instead? I should have done the change where? In a data module. Okay? But for right now, just change it here. I click, and it's gonna give me the set of visualizations, the things I might like. To add the visualization to your workbook, you're gonna click on this plus sign. For example, this is a list of drivers, and you're gonna look at it. This is very important visualization. This is the total claim amount by employment status. Let's just go ahead and click on that too. So see, I added those cards, right? I added those cards. Then also, if I select two pins, right? If I select two columns, I'm gonna get a different set of visualizations. Right? Those are the starting visualizations that Cognos believes I might be interested in for selected column, right? Or I can do total claim and I can do the coverage, right? I selected those two, and it's gonna give me this. So I can just add this, right? That's one way to add visualizations. Very easy, right? So just know this. This is just shows the relationship of strength, right? Now, another way to add visualizations is this. You're gonna click on a new, you click on a single, choose visualization type, and I'm gonna choose the spiral. Okay, So this is a spiral visualization. Now remember, this is called the data slot. You must specify the required data slot in order to see visualization. In this case, it's asking for the target. So target is what? Total claim amount here. I'm gonna drag and drop target here. What is this? This is the spiral visualization. Another name is bullseye. Each predictor, right? Each combination of drivers represented as a pin. You have one driver, one-way driver, two-way driver, and combination. So you uncheck this. This shows just one-way driver. The closer the pin to the core, the stronger is a predictive strength, right? So now you want to look at it here. This is vehicle strength, vehicle class has a higher predictive strength, 31%. Important because here the one-way driver is the highest predictive strength is going to be the first splitting column when you create a decision tree. You're going to create a decision tree. And the first column that will be used for a split is the one-way driver with the highest strength. So see this vehicle class. It's a very important column here, right? So here, this is a two-way driver. So, for example, vehicle class and employee status together drives the total claim amount. Vehicle class and income together influence the total claim amount, and etc. And you have the three column and more, right? That's called a combination, right? So in here, unfortunately, you cannot just visualize, right? But there's another visualizations called driver visualization. It's basically the bullseye visualization slice, right? So here, when I click here, this is a set of cards that I have, and I already added the drivers visualization. So here, this is like bullseye visualization slice, right? So you have a one driver, two drivers, and a combination. But you cannot turn this on and off here. But what you could do is you can visualize, like for example, here, I can click here. It's gonna show me the total claim amount by employment status, right? So that's what it's showing. By employment status, total claim amount. It's just one-way driver. This is a two-way driver, and it's gonna pick visualization that's more suitable for the data type. So this is total claim amount and by claim amount and number of policies, right? So here is another two-way, and it's going to look at the total claim amount by monthly premium, right? And marital status. See, there's several columns involved. But here, you have more than two, right? And if it's more than two, it's doing what? Decision tree. For decision tree, you can just go ahead and click here to edit the visualization, or you can do just new visualization, like I did bullseye, and select decision tree. So sorry, we're gonna talk about decision tree next, right? So what is a decision tree? Well, in this case, I'm trying to estimate my total claim amount, right? So here, tree is a bunch of rules, right? It's a bunch of rules about the cars, and each node, so you're gonna traverse, right? You're gonna take a path through the tree, and the color of the terminal node or leaf node, right? The node at the end, it represents the average claim amount. So like, okay, let's minimize it. This visualization can be collapsed. Let me collapse all of this. Collapse. Oops, I'm trying to collapse. I know. It's gonna take a while to get used to it. So you can collapse. And what is this? The first bar here, it represents all cars, right? So the first bar here, I'm gonna highlight it. What is this? It represents 100% of data, right? policies in claims rather, right? So here I have 9,146 claims total. This is the total average claim amount, and this is the standard deviation. This is for all cars. Now remember vehicle class. This is the first decision step. So I'm looking at the value. What is this? If it's a 2-car or 4-car, I'm taking this branch. If it's a SUV, I'm taking this branch. If it's a luxury, I'm gonna go here, right? So suppose it's a 2-door. See this? I'm gonna hover. It's gonna tell me that about 71% of my claims fall into this category. And this is the average claim amount and the standard deviation. But this is the least dominant, right? I have only 4% of data here. And take a look at this. Of course, it's understandable that luxury vehicle will have a higher claim amount, right? And that's an SUV, right? I collapse, and I can click here to collapse this. So let's take a look at this. So we know that it's a 2-door and 4-door car. Are we done? No, we keep going. So next column we look at is employment type. If the person is employed, if the person is on leave, or if the person is unemployed, and it takes a pass based on data. So here, this represents 45% of data, and that's the average, right? Average for employed. So what we continue, right? So next splitting column is monthly premium. So this is, if it's under 94, it takes this pass. Then we're gonna take a look at the vehicle size, right? So if it's a large vehicle size, medium or large, we take this pass. So this is the end of the range, right? Then we look at this here. This is the color code. That's an average. This is, in other words, this is the average total claim amount for 2 or 4-door car, where the driver is employed, pays monthly premium amount under 94, right? So this is the average claim we estimate based on the specified other fields, right? You take a pass, you traverse the tree. So see, so if you know, if you have the information, vehicle class, if you know if the person is employed, and if you know the monthly premium, etc., traverse the tree. And if this was a luxury vehicle, it would go here. Then you're going to look at employment status here. But remember, the split column can be different. It doesn't have to be the same. In this case, it's the same. So then, if it's unemployed medical leave, then of course it's going to be larger, and etc. It's going to reach the end, right? So I believe the limit is 36 nodes in a tree. Then here you can show the top 5 values, right? You can show the nodes that have the top 5, or you can show the bottom 5. So this is just the circulate, just changes what you can see. You can show all, okay? So there are different ways to see the rules. Let's collapse this here. So the tree actually let us read the rules. The sandbars visualization allows you to see the size, the portion of the data to which the rule applies. So see here, this one, I have see, this is the target, total claim amount, then this is the vehicle class. Do you see that at least 2/3 of the claims are for 2-door and 4-door car, right? So this is a 2-door, 4-door car. I can click on this to go next, right? And as I expand this, if I expand this and collapse this, at the same time, my tree is going to expand and collapse. So see this? That's the next layer, employment, employed, unemployed. I expanded it only for 2-door cars. If I look at the my diagram will be expanded and collapsed the same way. But the sunburst, you can see to which population, let's say, to which rules are the most dominant, let's say, right? You can see that the most dominant here is the 2 or 4 door car, and the person is employed, right? So you can see that. This is the least dominant luxury. But if it's least dominant, does not mean that it's not important, right? So you will be asked in assignment 3, you'll be asked to look to different models. So for example, perhaps for your second model, perhaps you can look at decision 3 for luxury cars. You can filter out the data to look only at the luxury. Or what you could also do is see this here. If I click on Uncharted, I can specify which column I want to use as a driver, which I don't want to use. Oops, what did I do? I accidentally removed this here. So what I can do is I can do undo. It worked. Okay. So what you can do here is this. You click here, you click on edit drivers, and you can uncheck the columns that you don't want to be used as predictors, right? Like for example, I have total claim amount. I don't want the claim amount to be used. I click, okay. So, and you can apply the filter. Like for example, you have to do 2 trees, right? You can look at luxury cars. If you were using this data set for assignment 3, just an example, it would have looked probably separately at the luxury cars, right? Because see, most of the data here are non-luxury, right? And you want to look at luxury too. So, but this is a sunburst, right? This is a tree. Another way is rules. Rules actually spell out the rule, right? Like vehicle class is luxury, and here are different conditions. Employment status, this is the effective due date, and if these conditions are sort of met, right, then this is the average claim amount. But take a look, you can filter it, and not filter it, you can sort it, right? You can sort it by predicted values, but see, it tells you the percentage of rows and the number of rows to which the rule applies, and this is the actual rule. So you can look, see this, it's a 2-door car, 4-door car, person is employed, monthly premium under 95, right? And under 94, vehicle size, medium, large. So if these conditions, if the claim fits into this category, this is an estimated average. Okay? So basically, you want to see when you have the new car, when you have a brand new claim, when you have a brand new claim, you're going to go to the tree and you're going to traverse the tree, right, to estimate the claim amount. Make sense, right? So you've got different, you've got the rules, you've got sunburst, you have the tree diagram. And I created 2 videos for this. So there are 2 videos. If you're going to watch them, your assignment 3 is going to be very easy. Okay? So now I went over the decision 3 first, but there are other ways to add visualization. So decision 3 will come later in the slides. But so this is the interface. I need to tell you more about the interface here. So here, those are the cards, right? Visualization card. Each card is a visualization in the workbook, right? So they're here. Here, I click here just to add a new card. This is what I did earlier. I have 5 cards right now. I can navigate between them like this. Or I can select a card here that I want to look at. So this is my visualization here. It's showing monthly premium, average monthly premium by coverage, right? So here, details, I can read. Sometimes it gives me nice interpretation here, sometimes it does not. But make sure that you understand, do not copy paste from here to the side. the data slot, what was used to visualize the data, right? So the bars, each bar, what each bar represents, and the bar links here, see? And you can apply the filter. Like for example here, remember I created the filter earlier, personal vehicle, personal policy for small vehicle. What you would need to do is, you would need to take this and you can drag and drop to here. See, make sure local filters are highlighted. I drag and drop in visualization will adjust. Did I need to define this filter again? No. I just drag and drop. That's it, see? Nice and easy. You define it once and you use it as many times as you need. Okay? What else you could do is you can look at related, and it's going to give you the set of related visualizations to the visualizations I'm looking at right now. So this is the total premium by coverage. Okay, so you can, this is monthly premium by coverage. You can look at monthly premium by vehicle class, for example. I can just add it, right? Then you could also, in here, those are the alternative visualizations with the same information, right? Like I can do this one, I can select a different way to visualize it, right? So those are recommended visualizations. There are related visualizations, which is similar information that I might be interested in, and related is just different ways to visualize, right? So related, and then in here, this is a choose visualization type. Sorry, here is a choose visualization type. For the same data, you may change the visualization type. See that? Like you can do the table, you can do pie chart, etc. But honestly, the pie chart is more suitable when you show the percentage of the whole, right? It's more suitable for that. But this specific visualization is just the showing average. Pie chart is not suitable here. But anyway, you have different visualizations you may choose. You have related visualizations. Pin, we're going to talk about this next time. And you may delete if you don't like visualization. Okay? So that's that. Also, what you could do is you can change the column being visualized, right? You can just delete and add, drag and drop new column, etc. So that's just the interface. And very important, I forgot something. What did I forget to do? I forgot to save it, right? So I'm gonna save it in the my content, and I'm gonna save it with, let's say, claims exploration, right? So I'm gonna save it. Now it's saved. All right. So there are multiple ways to build visualization. So we talked about the interface. We talked about adding visualization just from this diagram, right? We talked about this relationship diagram. We talked about the suggested starting points, right? That's how I added the visualization to start with. Next topic is embedded assistant. So you're gonna love this guy. You can access it here, or you can access it here. Here. So when I type the word data, it's gonna show me the data that I have access to. So this is a data module that we just used. I click on it, or I could type this, show source, claims and weather data module. When I type this, it's gonna list me the columns in my data. For each column, it's gonna tell me if it's the data type. For example, if it's continuous or if it's categorical, it's gonna show me if the column has extremely large or extremely small values. It's gonna show me if it's an identifier or not, right? And it shows a lot of useful information. What I could do here, I can click on a column to see details for that column. This is a equivalent to running this command here, right? So here it's just showing me the column usage, how the column is being summarized. It's going to show data type and etc. But this here, this is interesting fields that are related to my column. Like for example, here we're looking at the total claim amount, monthly premium author. I'm gonna click here, and it's gonna show me what the visualizations, right? There are different visualizations, and I can choose one of them, right? I can scroll through and I can choose the ones that I like, right? Oops. For example, I like this visualization. Then what you could do is this. You can click on new, right? And then you take this visualization and you drag and drop. That's one way to create visualizations. And here, it remembers what you searched for. You can just click here and rerun the command, right? And I created the video on how to use this guy. One thing you'll notice that later, if you have more than one exploration workbook, on your second exploration workbook, you can see all the searches you did here. And you'll also have this available in stories. When we do stories next time, this assistant here is available there also. All right? Then you can search for what influences the column, etc. So I'm gonna give you the copy of the slides, but basically, eventually the whole idea is you want to be able to answer questions in a natural language, right? So, like here, I just showed you the column information, right? Then, when you type the show column, right, show column and column name, it just shows you the different columns that are related, right, that are interested to look at. And you can look at visualizations. And then you can look at this what influences, or you can type what influences, right? And if you enter what influences total claim amount, it's going to give you a list of columns that might influence, right, that might be related to claim amount. Then you click on a column and do visualizations like I just did, right? Those are just one way to do visualizations here. So this is just an example. You can use the relationship. See this? Show total claim, amount, and coverage. It just shows the relationship, and you just drag and drop this, right? You drag and drop, and you get this visualization. Then, if you want to, you could go ahead and change. You can put different column here, different field if you want, right? So that's data slot. You can change. You can edit the visualization, right? Note here, this is asterisk. It means I may change after I save. So I need to save. Always save, right? So we talked about this guy. Next, I'm going to create the navigation path. And at this time, I'm going to create it here. So what you do is you go back here to the data. And I'm going to click on navigation. Well, the whole idea is some data is hierarchical. For example, you can look at data by hour, by day, by month, by year, right? Another good example would be assignment 1, average grade. I can look at your specific session you're in, or I can look at the average grade on assignment 1 for all 610 sessions, right? In a flow. Or I can look at it overall, like all semesters, out of all semesters, what was the average? You know what I'm saying? So that allows you to trip up and down. All right. So in here, we're gonna look at the state. So let's click here to create navigation class. And in here, I want to look at the state. So just drag and drop the state column. Oops. Or a state code here. And then another one, I want to look at the location code. Okay. Location code inside the state by default It's just gonna name it like this: state code, location code. I'm just gonna keep it as is. I'm gonna click OK right now. What will it do? It created this hierarchy, but what's the purpose? Well, now I'm gonna click on new. I'm gonna add visualization. And in this case, I'm gonna choose this one, the tree map, that shows part of the whole, right? So what I want is this. I want the state code to be the hierarchy, right? Oops. Come on. Sometimes it's okay, state code. Now, I don't see any visualization yet. Why? Because I have not specified the size. And I want the size to be the number of customers. I'm going to drag and drop the customer here. Okay? Now what do I see? I see the states and the number of customers in each state. Here, I can click here and it's going to show me the data that is being visualized. See this Iowa state, the number of customers in Iowa, right? Now what I can do, I can click on my Iowa, or actually right click, then I see this to drill down. I drill down, then inside the Iowa, I see suburban, rural, right? See here, and urban. So here, if I look at the data, so this one, you have 513 customers who live in rural Iowa. See? So you can basically drill down through the state. Next level is location code, but you have a video where I use 3-level hierarchy, and I show you example. So see here, this is the visualized data, and this is the whole data in data module. You can preview the data here. See, this is the data being visualized. Then see, I can right click and I can navigate back. Okay, so this is just the hierarchy, but I defined it here, so it means it will be unavailable in other exploration workbooks that I might decide to create. Okay, I save it. That's a hierarchy topic, navigation path, right? And this is just an example of how this looks like, right? Next topic is the calculation. And we're gonna go back to our data module. Close this and reopen the data module. It's in here. I can just click it to reopen. So, what's a calculation? Calculation, it creates column. You define the expression based on existing column. And an expression may contain the predefined function. It may contain another calculation, right? Then, remember, there are two types of calculations here. Embedded, right? And standalone. Embedded calculation is where the value is stored with each row of data, okay? For embedded, the value is stored in each row of data. If you create the calculation in the data module, it will be available in all data exploration, in all data presentations that you use with that data, okay? But if you create the calculation in exploration, right, it will not be available everywhere else. But let's look at the something simple first. So I'm gonna go here and I have something like monthly something. Well, if I don't see the column right away, I can type it here and I can search for it. See, so this is a monthly premium item. I'm gonna just click here and I'm gonna do create calculation. Well, no, I want to use calculation editor. And what I want to do is I can do multiply it by 12 and let's call it annual premium, okay? Premium, that's it, right? So what this does is I created the new column where the values are monthly premium times 12, and I call it annual premium. And what did it do? It just added the column, and it's always at the column at the first, annual premium, see that? So I save this, But if I need to change something, right, I can edit it. I can always edit the calculation, right? Edit calculation, right? And I can use it as part of another calculations if I want. One thing I forgot to do is that you have to always validate, right? Because if it's not valid, the data module will become not valid. So you want to do that. But that was simple one, right? Let's create something more complex. For example, what if I need to know the average income or something like that per state, right? Or I want to see, well, average income per state, let's say. So how do you do this? Well, I need to create another column, right? Calculation will create another column. So let's say, well, I can type income to find the column. Okay, I'm gonna click here. I'm gonna do create calculation, use calculation editor. And I'm gonna call it average income, average state income. Let's say state income, right? So now what I want to do is here, I want to actually take the average, right? Oops. So I have to use a function called average. I can go ahead and find it and drag and drop, or I can type it and it will find it. Average income, right? But here, I don't want the overall average income. What I want is this average income for, and here I'm just going to drag and drop the field. Let's say I want it for the state and the close parentheses. Oops, yeah. Now I want to validate, it should be valid. I don't see any issues. So this will show the average income for the state. So if the specified claim is in Iowa, right, it will show the value in the column will show the average income for Iowa, right? So let's do this. Let's click OK. So that created the calculation, right? The average income for the state. So that's the state average for this specific record. And if I want to, I can just I'm just resorting it, just sorting it, just to show you that the value will change for different states, okay? And I can, if I wanted to, I can add the rounding. So this is a embedded calculation because the value is stored for each row, okay? What if for some reason I needed to have an overall average income just once? Am I going to store it with all rows? No. What you do here is this here. You're going to create a calculation and you type the function. Function is average, right? But here you need to be really careful. It's how you specify the column name, right? So I would rather go here and drag and drop. So this is like income, right? I'm looking for let's search for income. If I don't see it, I better search it. So this is the income, right? I can search here. I can drag and drop. Jesus, what is this? Well, the initial file that was uploaded, it consists of several tabs. So this is a tab name in a file. Tab name in a file, see? And when I do this, I'm gonna name it. Let's name it as average income, right? Let's see what's gonna happen now. Okay, so this will create the standalone calculation because it's not stored together with, it's not stored in every row. It's stored a single value separately, see? That's standalone, right? So that's a calculation. Then next thing is a data group. The data group is also known as binning. You can do the binning for numeric column and for categorical column. like in here, for example, if I want to look at the income, right, I can do something like income category. So I can click here and I can choose create data group. By default, it's going to define 5 bins for me. Default is 5. For numeric, it's already created the bin boundaries for me. Okay? So this is going to call by default income group. I just keep it as default. And it splits the values into ranges. If I want to, I can change the number of ranges and I can change the boundaries too. Right? So this is very useful when the data is skewed. Like, for example, suppose that, so this is income, and then I have somebody with very, very, very low. Like, for example, I could have somebody with only 1,000, right? So that will place it in a category called less than, here. It will put less than. It will put in here. See? So if I have like extremely large values, it will put in the upper bound. If I have extremely low, it will put in the lower bound. So that's really useful for the skewed data, right? So I just click create, right? So here you may specify how to handle blank values, right? If you want to, you can specify, but I skip it. I'm gonna click create. It's just gonna create. It's gonna add 2 columns here for numeric. One column is gonna show the bin number, and another one is gonna show the bin label, if you will. So see this? I'm gonna go here. Each bin, right? It has, this is a bin number, right? And this is a label, income group, right? You saw it, right? You saw 5 different bins. This is hidden from user, but this is visible to user, okay? This is how that works. On the other hand, if I wanted to do it for categorical, it's different because you have to explicitly define the groups. So see here, I have this policy. I can right click here and I say create this group. So now policy group, I have to create the groups here explicitly. I click new groups, I click on corporate, I can type corporate, right? Here, this is the list of values that I have. So I created a group called corporate. I select the values I want to place it and I click on the arrow. See? Corporate. See? Now I create the next group and I want to call it personal and then personal. Okay, well, I cannot spell sometimes. Okay, for personal. Then what I do is I just click on the values. I click here, right? And another one is special. See, the categories were not defined for me. I had to create them myself. Okay? And I can just go and do this right here. Okay? So sometimes you have a lot of values and you want to kind of like put them in groups, right? So that's what I'm doing here. Right? So you just now you need to click OK and it will create a new column. By default, it's just gonna put it first, right? And always you need to do what? You need to save the work, right? Always save the work. So that was the data group. And don't worry about the number of slides. There is a section that we already covered. Okay, now we talked about data group for categorical, right? We already discussed spiral model, right? We talked about the spiral model, right? It's the driver is a predictor. Remember, a combination of predictor. So this is a bullseye visualization, and we look at driver represented as a pin. But I forgot to tell you that the predictors which that have less than 10% predictive strength are omitted. So the predictive strength might be 10% or more, right? Then this is just, you may change the columns that you use as predictors. I showed you that, right? We talked about the driver analysis earlier, remember? So the color of the pin shows the number of drivers, right? So the drivers closer to the right is a stronger predictor, and if it's a combination, if it's more than two columns, then you see the decision tree, right? So for the decision tree, I showed you how you read the rules. We traverse from top to the leaf nodes, right? The branches can be collapsed and expanded. Oh, and see, there's a limit. Limit is 36 nodes, no more than 36 nodes. And in each leaf node, you cannot have less than 25 rows. There has to be at least 25 rows. Okay? So basically, each node, it represents a statistically similar records, if you will, right? So there are no other methods, like here, it's just decision tree. In later courses, you will see other methods such as neural networks, etc. But here, this is just a decision tree in this course, right? So we did that. Oh, and I showed you how to read the rules, right? I showed you the sunburst visualizations. This is the topic I didn't show you. So now we're going to go back. We're going to close this. Remember, I added some calculations, right? So now when I go back to my exploration, I'm going to see the changes that I made to data module. Do you see this? I have this. I didn't have this before, did I? I have this. I didn't have this before, did I? So see, this is a change, right? I see it here now. Okay. Now, another thing that I didn't show you is that sometimes you can see two visualizations side by side. So let's go back to the cards here. So this one, for example, this is a monthly premium by coverage, right? So what I could do is I can go here, for example, and I can add, well, I have this filter, I can change it. I can delete this filter, remove filter, and instead I can go and I can filter this by gender, right? So if I don't see it, well, I can search, but let's see. I'm trying to see. There should be a column where I call it, where it's called gender. Here it is. Now I'm going to drag and drop. And you want to make sure local filter is highlighted. Now I'm going to select this for females, click OK. Right? So now what I'll do is I'll find this card here. This is a visualization. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate it. So I'm going to say duplicate. And in this duplicate, I'm going to change this. I'm going to go to the filter and oops. Not this. I want to change. I want color. I want to change the filter to the male. So I'll go here, go filter. The first one is for female, this one is for male. So I have this visualization for male and then for female, right? So now what I could do is I can select both, right? I use Control T to select both. Then I go here and I can click compare. What this will do is to put two plots side by side. And sometimes I might be wondering if gender has an impact, right? I'm looking at the monthly premium by coverage. I want to know if gender actually matters. So see this, I can select the data point, see this how? It gets selected on both sides, see? And I can see, well, in this case, gender does not change the value significantly, right? So this is just nice to compare things side by side, okay? So this is a comparison here. So I'm just gonna save it, right? But your first assignment, you want to do it as soon as possible. It says the last question is to create comparison visualization. It does not ask for this, but what it asks for is this. Last question, you need to do this. You go to choose visualization type and you select any of these for the last question, right? You can select any of this, many columns that you of your choice, and explain what the visualization shows. So the last questions, there can be multiple answers. But the whole idea here, well, as soon as you can, please make sure that you can access your Cognos account, right? And I showed you how. Make sure you can access and make sure that you see this team content. If you don't, there's a change that I need to make for your account, okay? Because this here, it's controlled by the groups. You actually have access to login, right? But there's different settings for this. So you want to make sure that you see these folders, okay? Or you cannot access all Cognos Iron? Well, you need to submit the ticket because I created account for everyone. So you need to submit how you're trying to access, and then I can look into it, okay? But make sure you're typing your username. It's not your email. Your login is your username, which is the first part of your student email. You're a student, I assume, right? You're not a faculty. Because your student email has something like first part, which is usually the first letter of your first name, your last name, and maybe followed by some numbers. Okay? So that's that. But when you say you cannot access, you need to specify what you're trying to do because are you able to go to the VGI? See, that's the first step. Are you able to get into that? Then, after that, you can see if you can access Cognos. But you need to submit the ticket. If you cannot, then I need to know your student ID, okay? I will check because I created all accounts for 2 sessions. Oh, no, 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 no. No, you don't use the full email. No, no, no. Very important. Excellent question. You don't use your full email account. You don't use the full email. It's just the first part. You have an email that ends as student.umgc.edu, right? The email used to access you, but here you use only the first part. Okay? But if you are a faculty, you ask me, I have your student ID. If you're a faculty, right? If you're taking a class, sometimes faculty take the class, and if you cannot locate your student ID, right, then I have it. Okay, I have all of your student IDs that I needed to create this account. Okay, if you're not sure what it is, don't panic. I have it. So you just submit the ticket and it will be given to you. No worries. Okay. So yes, you don't use a full email. You just use the first part, and you need to make sure you see this. Well, the fix is a no-brainer. I can fix it easily. But if you don't see those folders, it means that I need to change something on your account. I do it, but once in a while, 1 out of 60 students get missed. It happens. So very easy fix. So no worries. Okay. So remember here, it shows you what you have opened, right? If I was going to go back to data exploration, am I going to use browser back button? I don't think so. I'm just going to look here, right? And going back, and I need to save it, right? I didn't save it. Going back. So now this makes more sense. Like if I go to my content, see what I was trying to show you here, you can filter to see just explorations. You can filter to see just data, right? It makes sense more now because I have it now. Before I did not have exploration. I cannot really show. Weird, right? And okay, how can you view all discrete entries? Oh, okay. So when you go here, when you go to the data module, let's go back. This is the data module, right? When you go to the filter it, well, we just created the filter, right? But there is another way to filter is this. So here, for example, this is the state code. I click here, I choose filter, and I see all of these files. Do you see this? I see them, and I can just select. That's one way. Does it help? Okay, cool. I'm glad I could help. Well, for some of them, like annual premium, this will show the slider. Okay, you can do select individual, but it's going to be nasty because it's a continuous still. Or you can define the range. You can define it here. See, that's another way. Okay, I hope it helped. All right, so I guess, oh, this is just how to save the exploration workspace. I showed you that, right? This is a gift. I created a nice videos playlist for you. Okay, most of these videos were done in response to students' questions. So you have something on how to create data module. You have several videos on finding missing values. You have some videos on filters and etc. Some on the calculations. So you're gonna watch these videos and they're gonna save you a lot. Well, you need to watch the recording of this session more than once, but some tasks are easier to have a short video in addition to this recording. So that way you don't need to search through the whole recording to find the information, right? Then there's 3 videos that are gonna be a big lifesaver for your assignment 3. So you're gonna love this playlist. All right? So please make sure to watch this playlist. Okay? Now, questions, please. I like to see the students' questions. And good news, we were done in an hour and a half. Sometimes the session is 2 hours. Trust me. Okay? Well, I like to see questions. I know it's a lot, but you will have to watch this more than once. It takes a few times to get it, and when you start to actually practice, right? So remember where the data is, right? So when you go to the welcome page, remember team content, right? You remember this folder is for the data set, and it's organized by assignment, okay? So this is a housing data for assignment 2, and I'll give you a little hint. You will be predicting the house value in here, right? Predicting the house value for this data set, assignment 2, okay? Then 3 and 4 is continuation of 3. So you have this data set to choose from. You have choices for 3 and you stay with the same for 4. 5, we're going to talk about next session. So please mark your calendar in 4 weeks from now, which is going to be October 4th. We're going to have another session. Okay? So please mark and be on time. Because I like to start sharp on time. Okay? All right, so let's see the question. Is there a specific question regarding? Okay, so basically you can submit a ticket. For the questions about the software, right? Like how do you do this? You have trouble accessing. How do you create certain calculations? You do the Salesforce ticket, right? But questions for professor go anything like a concept related about the course, or if you have a question about specific assignment requirement or how your work will be graded, something in the readings that goes to professor. But software questions, they go to the Salesforce. Did the instructor show you the video on how to submit the ticket? You submit the ticket and then there is a dedicated TA. The guy will respond, and if I need to be involved, I will do also. And sometimes they're very interesting questions to the point that I take it and I create a short video. So you're gonna need to do, yeah, you need to do, yes, you submit to the Salesforce, yes. You submit to Salesforce and sometimes the TA may need to work with you. Sometimes the question requires having a screen share session with you and the TAs have access to set up Zoom meetings. Sometimes it's something that needs to be done with you one-on-one, etc. So yes, that's really helpful. And sometimes if it's something interesting that I think another case think that maybe benefit everybody else, then so you never know. All right. So, any other questions that you have right now at the moment? I really love when students ask questions, right? And you will see me later in the program. When you take 650, you'll see me. So, and you will also see me in the next session in 4 weeks. All right? So, anything else? Anything else I can help you to get started? I know it's a lot, but what you're going to do is you're going to start early, right? Get this assignment out of the way, and it will give you more time for assignment two, right? Okay? So anything I can help you with right now? Anything, any questions? Just think about it. Going once, going twice? No? Well, if you don't have any questions, then I'm gonna end the recording and we're gonna call it a night. And I would like to thank everybody who was able to attend live. Okay? Okay, so let's see something in the chat. Okay, okay. Most welcome, guys, and I'll see you in 4 weeks in another session. All right.